Most teachers are capable of making six figures online by transitioning into an online tutor. The issue, teachers fail to master one important skill. And until you master this skill, you end up trading your time for money, relying on referrals, unable to scale your online tutoring business. So in this video, I'm going to break down what is the one most important skill that teachers need to master to make six figures online. But more importantly, I'm going to show you how you can learn it fast and shortcut the entire process so you don't have to spend years of trial and error figuring it out. So let's jump in. So there's one skill that's standing in the way of most teachers becoming six-figure business owners. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what that skill is. I'm going to share with you teachers using this skill to go from classroom teacher to six-figure online tutoring business owners. Then I'm going to walk you through how to actually learn this skill. And I'm going to give you some training I actually give my private clients. So you're going to be able to go away after watching this and know exactly how to make six figures as an online tutor. So let's jump in. I'm going to share my screen. I'll show you exactly what the skill is. And so we're going to look at the one skill all six-figure online tutors have and how you can learn it fast. Okay. And so what is this skill? Well, the skill is being able to enroll students at premium rates online sales. Right? And unfortunately, most teachers aren't equipped with this skill. And as a result, they stay stuck relying on referrals to grow their online tutoring business. They stay stuck relying on expertise and not being able to scale and enroll students predictably into online group tutoring programs when they come to run marketing campaigns and things like this. So they're never actually able to grow their business. So it just does not matter how good you are as a teacher and how good you are at getting your students results. It's no good if you can't take a student who's only just, or a parent who's only just heard of you online from a social media marketing campaign and turn them into an immediate client. And the way to do that is not just be good at marketing, but it's be great at selling, being able to meet students where they're at and be able to have conversations with them that takes them from interested to I want to purchase and I want to enroll and I want to pay you. Okay. And until you master that skill, you're just going to be stuck building a side gig, a glorified job as an online tutor. And you're probably just going to stay inside of the classroom if you're a teacher wanting to go online as well, because you'll just take a few students here and there. And I speak to a lot of teachers and they say, we've spoke to thousands of teachers over the past 5 years at the Teacher Project. And I'll jump on a call with a teacher who's interested in hiring us for our services. And they say, hey, Elliot, every single student I speak to enrolls and they pay me. I said, well, where'd you get these students? And they say, well, they got referred to me. Well, that's why. If you're not enrolling all of the referrals and word of mouth students that book in a call to speak with you, then there's a huge issue, right? But the skill of learning how to sell is what separates online tutors and classroom teachers from six-figure online tutoring business owners. So let's jump in. But I've got some good news. The good news is, of course, selling is a skill and skills are trainable. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. So let's jump in. And here was one of my clients, Jacob Williams, by the way. It took him 2 months and 26 sales calls to enroll his first student. He was used to enrolling referrals, word of mouth students, particularly for one-on-one classes before I met Jacob. Okay. And you can see here, I just enrolled 4 in 1 day. Never give up. You only fail when you quit. And so Jacob was just able to be trained and he's been able to be super successful since. And, he was a very good teacher, but learning this skills allowed him to grow his business. Okay. Just like it did for some of my clients here on the screen as well. Like Luke brought in 50 grand in 5 months. He then went on to buy his dream car, a Tesla. He bought a brand new Tesla. You can see here, he brought in 54 grand. He matched his entire classroom salary and more in literally 5 months. Okay. And you can see here, March 24, he hit his first 10 grand. I'm going to buy my dream car. September 2024, I brought in almost 17 and a half grand. All right. So Luke's using this exact skill, the training that I'm going to give you here, to go from classroom teacher to six-figure business owner. Okay. Joseph, one of our brand new clients, he posted this 23 days ago. He's only just getting started on his tutoring journey. And this is what I mean. It does not matter what level of expertise you have as a teacher. If you do not learn to sell, because Joseph's right at the beginning of his career, right? And so his experience, perhaps in terms of teaching, isn't the same level of experience as somebody who's been teaching 10 years. Okay. Will Joseph get to that point? Absolutely. The more experience and the more time he does this. But I'm showing you here because he learned to sell. First sale, 2 closes in 2 hours. I've been in the program for 16 days. I got my first sale on a sales call 1 hour after I got another sale. Okay, I made this video because I'm feeling electric right now. And again, he's only just started. You can see about 2 weeks ago working with us. Okay, Marcus Smith brought in 50 grand in a single month. You see here, I enrolled into the teacher project 2 years and 5 months and 25 days ago as a classroom teacher, tutoring no students, no business experience. Just have a look. And no idea how to get started. In July 2025, I brought in 43,842, which is 58 grand USD. Okay, on Stripe, that was just Stripe. And he brought in more than that on other payments and like direct bank transfers. But here's an example of his Stripe snapshot. Where's it gone? There we go. All right, so look, 43 grand. What did he do? He learned to sell better. And then there was Luke here. You can see Luke, I just shared you in his 5-month period before, he'd done 50 grand. Then he did 34 grand in 24 hours. And these are all clients of ours that we've been teaching and mentoring. I think we also have Jared over here where we got 39 grand a month. Again, he went through our sales process that we teach our clients, which you're going to learn in just a second. And he was able to bring in 39 grand in a single month. Okay. Now, so obviously in order to have sales calls, you need to learn how to market. So we teach all of our clients a strategy that looks like this, where they're running social media ads on like Facebook, Instagram, and then they're collecting the information from their prospects using either instant forms, landing pages, or even messenger style ads. They simply showcase a video, or maybe sometimes they don't even showcase a video. It might be just some literature on how they can help the student, which prompts people to book in a call to speak with them because you've got to secure the booking. The key is then before they speak to these people on Zoom, they're doing some pre-selling as well. So they're creating some sort of homework to turn their prospects into ideal students. It could just be like a PDF document that educates the parent and student why they should work with you. Okay. And then they get to the Zoom call. Okay. So this is the part. Once you get here, this is what we're going to look at today, is once you get to this Zoom call and you've got a consultation with a parent or student, in order for there to be an exchange of money where the parent pays you or the student pays you to tutor them on that call, you have to have a solid framework in order to make that happen. Now, sure, you could just charge low hourly rates and that would be very easy. You pretty much need zero framework for that. But people pay high income or high investments based on what results they're going to get. Okay. People pay low cost and low investment based on like features, having a tutoring lesson, how many classes they get. And so you've got to escape from just offering tutoring classes on your potential consultations. It's a process and a framework, and we're going to break that down now. So let's jump in and let's have a look. So here's the enrollment framework overview. So there's about 7 stages to the call once you jump on Zoom with a parent or student. Okay, now we'll walk through each of them. So step 1 is the pre-frame. Now, this is simply wrapping a container around the call, which allows you to become question ask and essentially creating the doctor frame, which is what I call it. Because when the parent and student perhaps attend a call with you, you've got to show them that you're in charge here, that you've got to establish authority. So you simply let them know how the call's going to go. Call, awesome, Mrs. Smith. Is it okay just to lay out today's call, what I've got planned, and let you know how it's going to run? We've ran thousands of these over the past few years or whatever. So I've got a process that's really going to get your child maximum value, and you here today is okay to let you know what we're going to do. And then you lay out the call. So I'm just going to ask a few quick questions to see exactly what you need help with. And then from there, once I've understood that, then I'll be able to give you some insight and guidance on what I think your child should do in order to boost their grades or whatever it is you're doing. Okay. Does that make sense? They're going to say yes. Now, at that point, once we build out the plan, I'm going to get you to write it down. It's not something, I just send over via email or whatever. Everything's personalized to the student. So have you got a pen and paper there? I'm specifically going to ask that because I don't want them to say to me at the end of the call, hey, can you just send this information over? Because we can look at it and then we'll get back to you. So I'm saying this is personalized. It's not something I'm going to send over to you. If you've got a pen and paper, I'm keeping them accountable. And then from there, I'm going to say at that point, that's when, if you've got any questions, happy to go through them with you. Does this make sense? So now they know exactly how the call's going to go. I've demonstrated great leadership. I'm in charge of established authority. I've told them I'm going to ask questions first. Then once they've got the plan, then if they've got any questions, that's when they can ask them. Okay. So it's the first part. We call it the pre-frame. Second part of the call is the discovery. So if you think about when you go to the doctor examines you, he asks questions, how you've been feeling. This is essentially that, right? Now, there's a few things that you want to be able to answer, be able to know coming out of this discovery. There's a few more things in this, but the main things to keep this pointed so you can actually implement it is what's the main problem, i.e. why are they on the call? What's the main frustration? What's going on? What's the challenge? Okay. You might start the call like this. Well, what would you say has been the main challenge in your child's learning that's made you want to book in a call today that you're wanting to get some help with? And they're going to tell you. Okay. Now, obviously, you need to probe and say, why has that been a challenge? What have you done? How long has this been going on? So I normally call it the 5 whys. Okay. If you can go 4 to 5 layers deeper. So, well, why has this been a problem? Got it. Tell me a little bit more about that. What do you mean when you say that he or she is frustrated with their homework? Okay, why are they frustrated though? So you're asking just 5 layers deep for everything they ask back. Okay, that way you can make sure that you can tick off each of these points. Main problem, frustration. So you need leverage in order for a sale and transaction to happen in terms of there needs to be a clear problem that people want to move away from. The second part, so point B, okay, is the pleasure. Okay, where do they want to go to? Where do they want to move towards? So if you think about this, if you were to draw a bit of paper, if you had a square bit of paper, A4 piece of paper, it was rectangle, and if you drew letter A at the bottom left, and then top right of the paper, letter B, draw a circle around both, that's current situation, destination where they want to go to, and then a line in between, that is the roadblock. Your job on these calls is to expand that gap. Okay, so we call it expanding the gap, and you do that by asking some questions here so that you know exactly why they want to achieve this. Okay, so why do they want to achieve the goal once you've got that? Why now? Cost of inaction, and I would also say inside of here, roadblock. I'm going to add one in for you guys. What have they tried? Why hasn't it worked? What do they need help with? Why would they even need to hire you? Because if there's no roadblock, they're not going to want to hire you. If there's no doubt that they can do it on their own, they're not going, that they can't, that they actually need help for it, and they're not able to do something, they're not going to hire you. Okay, so you've got to create things like doubt, and you do that by investigating roadblocks, why they're stuck, why they can't do it on their own, why do they want to achieve this as well, and why now? Okay, the reason why you're asking questions like this is because you are preventing objections at the end of the call. So if I get to the end of the call and someone says, hey, no, this is something that we would, want to start in after Christmas or something like that, if I was speaking to a student in the month of September or whatever, and they then go and say to me, yeah, no, I think we'd want to start after Christmas, closer to the exams. Well, that would only come up because you didn't nail this in the discovery phase. You didn't get a hard temp check and confirmation of why they wanted to start this now. And so if you don't get that, you've got nothing to go back and hold them accountable to. Okay. Next bit is cost of inaction. Means what happens if they do nothing? Okay. What happens if they stay doing the same thing? And then are they willing to settle for doing nothing? Potential ramifications of not boosting their grades. What is it going to affect? Because unless you're able to get them to see this and say it themselves, that if they don't make a change right now, they're probably going to miss out on finals, or they're going to miss out on going to a top college, or whatever it is you teach, there's nothing to hold them accountable to again towards the end of the call. So this is discovery. Then at this point, this is when you really become the doctor. It's called the transition. So once you've understood everything, you make sure you've got everything, and then you ask permission to go to the next step. Okay. So You get to the end of the discovery. I think that's it. We've been through a lot. Is there anything else you think I should know, or if we covered everything? This gives you an opportunity to loop back around. If you feel that you've missed something, you can now say, actually, there was one more thing that I wanted to know. Can you tell me about? So it allows you to make sure you draw a line in the call, make sure you've got all the information that you need before going into the close part of the call. Because if you're going into what we call the offer and the pitch blind, meaning you haven't uncovered the cost of inaction, you haven't uncovered the roadblock, you haven't uncovered the why now, then obviously, you don't know if the call is going to close or not. So you've got to make sure that you use the transition to either loop back around or use it as a hard point in the call to transition into where you tell them how you're going to help. So the doctor, once he's examined you, he looks at everything and then he gives a diagnosis, right? And that's what you're transitioning into here. So what we call this is the offer, which is how you're going to help the students. We're going to cover that in a bit. Okay, so your learning method, what steps would child need to take or student need to take to improve their grades? And then the deliverables. What do you actually give them? What do they get? How do you help them? Okay, so, or what do you provide? What is your service? Okay, then the pitch is obviously revealing the investment. And then, of course, not all calls, even it doesn't matter how well you deliver them, there's always probably going to be questions, especially if you're charging a premium rate. It's going to be very rare that you just pitch the investment and the student and parent says, yep, cool, here's the cash. They're going to have some potential concerns or questions that you need to kind of handle and just reassure and then get them over the line. Okay, just to help them make a decision. They're just going to want to clarify a few things if you've done the call really well. But then some calls, you're obviously going to need to be skilled at objections. And so this is the difference between tutors who are charging low hourly rates and tutors who are able to charge $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, like the clients that I shared with you, because they're able to run an entire framework on their calls and they practice at it. I'm going to walk you through this, how you can practice, how you can get good at it, so you can quickly scale to six figures, because this is what all the top tutors are using, they're doing, and they're delivering fantastic enrollment calls with students, and they're following a framework similar to this. Okay, so let's have a look. We're going to jump in. The part I'm going to jump in with you guys is the offer part. Okay, so that is from just here. So let's walk through right away from there. Okay, so you've done the discovery, you've transitioned the call, you're now about to get them to get a pen and paper and write down. You're going to walk through the roadmap. Think about when you take an Uber, you put in your location, you put in the destination where you want to go to, and then Uber maps out the route. So essentially, this is what the offer part of the call is. It's you presenting the route, the plan, just like a chiropractor would give a rehabilitation plan to a client or a patient who wanted to cure their back pain. This is what you're doing here. So I'm going to walk you through some frameworks, and then you can have a look, you can model it, you can practice it. So this is something that we train our clients on. So I'm just going to walk through it and teach it as if I was creating a lesson, and you can follow along. So guys, quick interrupt. I hope you're enjoying the video, but I wanted to make sure you picked up your copy of Teaching on Your Own Terms. It's my best-selling book, and it shares with you the exact 5 steps that I've used with over 2,000 teachers at this point, helping them build their dream online teaching businesses. It went to bestseller in 7 categories. It's been featured by NASDAQ in Times Square, New York City. And I know you're going to love it. Inside of the book, you're going to learn things like how to position yourself as the go-to tutor in the marketplace, and the offer that you can create to get your ideal students reaching out, and how to communicate that. I'll share with you what I've seen as the best advertising strategies to get in front of new students and parents who want what you've got, how to sell your services, and everything you actually need to include in an online group tutoring business to make sure your students crush it and get great results. There's some free gifts and bonuses in there. I think in the first couple of pages, there's a link. You can go and grab some free gifts on me. But I know you're going to love it. Teaching on Your Own Terms. I'll leave a link down below in the comments, and go and pick up your copy today. Let's go through this example offer framework. As you walk through the offer, you do need to tailor each step to what they said in the discovery phase. So when you are taking notes in this discovery phase up here, when you're delivering that and asking questions, you want to be writing notes down, because what you do in the offer needs to be personalized and tailored to what they said their frustrations were or their goals, and so that you can really personalize everything. Because you don't just want to shell out some cookie cutter thing that you say the same to everybody. It's got to be personalized to the student. So you're going to need to make sure you do that. Now, you're going to want to make sure that they've got something to get down, because this is where at the end of an enrollment call with a student or parent, they're going to say to you, hey, can you just send this across? And that's the last thing that you want to say. Okay, so what you do is, if they did get to the end of the call and they said that and say, hey, can you just send this across? You're just going to say, well, look, this is why we write everything down, because what we do is customize, it's personalized to your child. So we don't have like a one size fits all roadmap. So I would just be emailing you what you've got on your paper. Does that make sense? Okay, so have you got a pen and paper? Let's get this down. Now look, this is just an example. It depends on your steps and what you would do with a student. I'm just giving you an example of how this might go. Okay, so it might go something like this. If I was a teacher and there was kind of 3 key things, whether it was mindset, assess, and like study skills or exam techniques, maybe I've got a few things that I work on in my students. That you obviously need to be able to do that based on how you help. Okay, I'm just going to say there's 3 and you'll see how I do it. So look, there's 3 components I'm going to walk you through in order to help your child get to their desired result. Okay, now if you write at the top of the paper for me, so get them to write down roadmap to your goal or whatever their goal is. So let's say it was an SAT student, roadmap to 1500 SAT score. So write this down. Now there's really 3 areas that all of the top students have that helps them be at the top of the class. Okay, Mrs. Smith. So the first thing that Jimmy, we'll just pretend the child's name's Jimmy, needs is an actual learning strategy that's going to help him be able to get that 1500 SAT score. Okay. And for child name, for Jimmy, there's really 3 things of this strategy that's going to make it easy for him to see results. So if you write on the page, pillar 1, name of your first pillar. So pillar would be the first thing you do with a student. So it might be assessment, or knowledge gaps, or something like that. Yep. So how you then present this at each step, you use their words. Okay, so it goes like this. So you know how you told me Jimmy was struggling at school and getting frustrated with not being able to study effectively what he was learning in class, or whatever their kind of pain was. Okay, and then it was making him feel, like stressed out, tired, like just not confident in his ability to get that 1500 SAT score. Well, here's what we're going to do first, okay? So you'd say, well, what we're going to do, and I'll give you an example, is this. This means he's going to have this benefit, which is going to allow him to feel a lot more confident. And the reason why this is so important is whatever the cost is of not having, this particular thing that you might do as a student. I'm going to give you an example so you can see, okay? So you know how earlier on the call, you mentioned that Jimmy was struggling to find the time to study effectively, and it was making him feel really frustrated. Well, what we do first is make sure Jimmy has an easy to follow study plan. That means he knows exactly what to focus on in just 30 minutes each week, so he can retain everything. Here's the benefit, right? He can retain everything he is learning, which is this part just here, okay? And that means which means he'll be way less stressed, emotional benefit, and also have more time to spend doing what he wants in the evening. Okay, he'll basically have an advantage over all of the other students. Does this make sense? And you ask him, can you see why we do this first? Great. Why does it make sense for you? What stands out for you the most? Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to present all of the steps that you would help your students, probably about 3 to 5 different things, no more than 5. Okay, of what you would do with a student to get them from A to B. Okay, now you're going to want to temperature check them out of 10 at every kind of step. Basically, that just means like, how do you feel about this? Can you see how this would help? Why do you feel like this would help? And that allows you to keep them accountable, because what you don't want is just like a vomit of you just saying, hey, this is what we do, and you then go off on a tangent and talk for 10 minutes. You'll lose their interest. So you've got to be asking them questions throughout. Why do you think this would help? How would this be beneficial? Could you see how this would work? What questions do you have on it specifically? Okay, so you've got to do that after each step. Now, once you've done that, you go into the deliverables. So cool, you're happy with the plan, everything we've done, we've laid out, perfect, let's move on. So if you write this down too, so if you'd like to know how I help you with all of this, I've got a 12-week tutoring program. It's called SAT Roadmap or SAT Mastery, just for example. Here's how I help you. You get 2 lessons a week and you get them to write this down. And again, this is just example. whatever it is you offer in your offer is customized to you. This is just an example. You get one speed up session, and here's the benefit of the speed up session. I'll show you an example in just a second. You get my full curriculum. You get a student mastermind group, and the benefit, for example, so that he can collaborate with other students and feel more motivated. Plus, he's got my entire support system, so I'm there round the clock to answer any questions he's got. Okay. Other things you might add in terms of your deliverables: one-on-one acceleration classes. So every week he can book in a one-on-one with a teaching assistant. Obviously, that's optional. Okay. We've got a parent community for you. We've got a workshop, mindset study, exam prep every single month, which makes sure we're able to kind of educate the students on where they need the most help, make sure they stay ahead. Could be some of the benefits. Okay. Now, this is why most teachers, when they go online, they're not able to sell at premium rates, because what happens is they do a little discovery and find out where the students needs help. And then they say, hey, do you want me to tell you kind of what you get? And they just vomit the deliverables. So you get to the end of the call, and then the parent and student is making a decision based on if they think that it's worth handing over $1,000 or $2,000 to have a Zoom lesson a week, to have homework marked. Of course, they're not going to see the value in that. So what you want your prospects, your parents and students to see is the value in the roadmap. That's what they're paying for, because you've got a plan, okay? They're not paying for this. If I was someone who wanted to lose a ton of weight and I wanted to get a personal trainer, I'm not paying for the exercise lessons or the diet plan the personal trainer is giving me, because I could get that on YouTube. Right? A diet plan isn't worth a couple of grand. You know, the result is low, and the accountability, the support, the guidance, that's worth it. Okay. And the plan to get there. That's what I'm paying for. So here's an example from another tutor on this. So look, what you get is you get our core curriculum. So the first thing, write this down, you get access to the ACT acceleration training curriculum. This is our core curriculum that walks you through how to do everything that I just walked you through step by step. It's got over 20 videos, for example, or 100 videos. So it's got everything you need to know to achieve a 1500 SAT score. So there's no confusion. You get instant access. Okay. Other thing you get is one-on-one mentoring sessions. Okay. So during the first 2 weeks of your program, you'll be having exclusive one-on-one mentoring sessions with me to make sure that you're understanding your basics. Then we'll be doing a one-on-one test assessment together later down the line, so I can teach you exactly how to answer key questions in the test once we've built up your foundational knowledge. So you see, this teacher is adding a lot of benefit-rich language in, okay? And they're not doing one-on-one mentoring sessions all the time. They've got one at the start in the first 2 weeks, and then they've got one later on in the 12-week process, okay? So second, the other thing you get is you get 2 live group lessons each week. Every week, there'll be 2 group lessons that will focus on fundamentals as well as higher level concepts to help you master material, as well as challenge yourself to get better, where we'll be doing regular testing. If you miss a session, they're all recorded, and you're going to say something like this just in case you get those objections of, well, what if we miss a lesson? Okay, can we reschedule? Now, I send my daughter and my son to football and basketball clubs at school. Now, they are group classes where an external provider comes in and delivers the group classes. When they're not able to attend a lesson because we've gone away, or, you know, they're not in school that particular day, whatever, they've had to do something else, we've got to rush out after school so they can't attend. I don't then say to the teacher, well, what happens now that they've missed the lesson? I don't try and reschedule. I paid for the term up front. It's my responsibility, okay? But you can really make sure they're reassured by saying, hey, look, they can always go back and watch the replays. Okay. The next thing we have is a weekly speed up session. Every week I host a deep dive lesson for you to join and ask me anything you want. So you can bring me what you're working on, whether that's homework, something you're finding hard at school, even if you've just got a few questions. These are completely optional to attend, but they're here when you need them. So there's no way you can fail. Okay. Other thing you get is the student mastermind group. So I'll be inviting you to the exclusive student mastermind group where you're going to get the support you need, so we can get you in this winning environment. Okay. Now, in there, you'll be with top students who will also support you and help motivate you. So we've got the tribe around you that you need, like we mentioned earlier. Okay. The next thing you've got is private support access. We have a support team on standby, ready to help you with everything you need every single day via email, text inside of our mastermind group. So anytime you need, you can reach out and get support. So that's how you would deliver all of your deliverables. You say the feature, You say the advantage, so what it's going to do, and then the benefit of having that advantage. That's the framework. And this was an actual script where I took these deliverables from a tutor that sells 12-week SAT or ACT prep tutoring program at about $2,400. It might be a little bit more, but that's what they're using as their deliverables. Okay. Now, again, you're going to want to temp check. So remember, how do you feel about this? Would this help you? Yes. Why would it help you on a scale of 1 to 10? How do you feel about everything we've been so far? 10, I absolutely love it. 1 is the worst thing I've seen. So why are you so confident? Why do you feel it's like a 10 out of 10 for you? So that's what I mean by temperature check. All the time, you've got to be asking them, keeping them accountable, how they're feeling. So once you're happy with that there's no kind of uncertainty from the parent or student around how things work, if you don't feel that they kind of love it, you don't go into the pitch. You do not present the investment because, of course, they're going to say, I want to think about it. So you've got to make sure they're excited, they love it, they understand everything. Now, once you've done that, that's when you can go and pitch, okay? And that's where you reveal the investment. So let me walk you through how you do this. Okay, let me know what will be the next step for you from here. So I'm asking them to take the next step. That way they feel like they're in control, okay? And they're the ones who's making the decision, okay? So you get them to ask about the investment. Now, obviously, if they don't, you can say, hey, would you like me to walk you through the investment to get started? Okay. Okay. If you're happy with everything, would you like me to run you through the investments? We can get Jimmy started. Now, when you do this, you never isolate price alone. You state the price or the investment and then attach all of the benefits of what they're going to get. Because if you just say, hey, yeah, it's $1,000, all they're going to think in their head is, yeah, well, that just sounds like $1,000 out of my bank account. So what you do is you do something like this. So the investment to move forwards, just $1,200. If you take care of it all up front today, though, it's just $1,000. Okay. And that's so that we can. So here's where you attach all the benefits. That's so that we can make sure in an upgraded environment, the students moving towards the same goal, like you were missing. Make sure that you've got your habits set so we can make the most of our time together. Also make sure that we can identify your knowledge gaps and make sure that you've got a clear plan to learn and build successful study skills. So this would just be potentially one of the benefits of one of the things, one of your steps. And then you land it with the main result that student said that they were after. But most importantly, make sure that Jimmy has a path to get that 1,500 SAT score and get into his dream college. How does that sound? Now that sounds a lot better than just $1,200, doesn't it? That dream college or that 1,500 SAT score, that's what they were after. Now from there, perfect. Let me get you the link and I'll send it across to you now in the chat. That maybe this is on Zoom. You get them to go through and you process payment there and then. So many teachers say, hey, I'll send you over the invoice. You've got them into a buying state and now you're going to delay the payment. They're going to go away and think about things after you did all of that hard work. We see this time and time again. You've got to take payment on the call because they'll go away, they'll think about it, and they will not act. You put all of that hard work in just to say, yeah, I'll send you the invoice. You take payment there and then on the call. You would have some sort of payment link, send it across to them, and onboard them. Now, obviously, at that point, that would be perfect scenario. As I said, that's when there's going to be potential objections, things like that you might be able to handle, clarify some clarifying questions to seal the deal. Okay? So there's a basic script. Now, in terms of how you would then go and learn this fast, here's some steps. You're going to need to practice. So for you, that might be literally as simple as this. Listening back to this video over and over and over again whilst on a walk, soaking it in, and so it starts to click. Just like what you would do with a student. Repetition is key, right? So repeat listening to this. Then once you've locked it down and you've worked out, perhaps you might write out what are the steps that you help your students with and use this framework that I taught you up here, okay? This example of the things. So if your first thing you did with students was do an assessment, follow this example and script it out, practice it, mirror talk, okay? And then do some role play with somebody. So do stuff like that. Then I would always make sure, I'd always make sure that you take notes on your calls. Okay, so get a notebook, get a blank notebook. Next time that if you have the opportunity to take some potential consultations with parents and students, as you're going through, write things down so that you've actually got some information based on what they said in discovery, which then allows you to tailor your pitch and your offer to the student. So always use a notepad. Okay, you can even create a checklist of these things in the notepad. This is what you could do. So the few things that we said here, write them down. So problem, goal, roadblock, why now, cost of inaction, and you might write some of these things down, and that way you can tick them off when you're happy that you've got them. Okay, so always take a notepad, and you could write certain notes to help you remember it, and it also allows you to compose yourself as well. Okay, so you can use the notepad, and it's going to help you a lot. You'll be able to revisit this as well in the future and look back on some of your calls. Okay, so you can follow up with leads and things like that. The fortune's also in the follow-up. Okay, there's a high probability that a lot of students you speak to and parents, they're going to need to jump on a next call with you and things like that. Okay, so this notebook's really important. And then the third step is just make sure you review what you're doing. So listening to your winning calls, and once you've had a go at this, any calls that you've had, enrollment calls with students, listen back to them. What were you doing well? And that frames you in a positive mindset to go out and do really well on your next call. Okay, because you then are soaking yourself and absorbing gold standard practices. Okay, and then also analyze your missed sales. So if you follow a framework like this, you'll then be able to see and go through the framework. What did I miss? What did I get wrong? So that you can course correct yourself quickly and make sure on the next call you don't forget whatever it was you forget, and you could use your notepad to write that down to remind you. Okay, because if you missed the call, if you missed the sale, and you reviewed it, and you then looked and thought, do you know why? The reason why I missed that is they told me that they wanted to start after Christmas, so I didn't ask them the why now question and why they wanted to start working with me right now. So because I didn't ask that later on in the call, this enrollment call, that they were able to say, hey, we want to think about it. We're not ready to start yet, because I missed that in the discovery. So this just allows you, this framework, to go back and make sure what you're doing is on point. Okay. Now, as I said, this is the one skill that separates most teachers from becoming six-figure online tutoring business owners. It's exactly how we have clients. I'll just share with you like this inside of our wins channel just here. So I can just actually see here. Nigel has just posted about Charlotte Terry. Look, she's got a UK physics. Obviously, she's actually just become a six-figure tutor. Okay, I can see them celebrating there. Okay, I can see here, Laurie Martin collecting that cash. So our team posts about our client wins. What she said there, full sale for 9 weeks, 675, cash. Okay, I converted 3 students. Who's this over here? Luke's performing well for the month, 13 grand generated. We're only 11 days in. Okay, so I've hit 10K month already in September. 2,700 payment. Sale there. Who's this one? Making another sale. Class of 5 students enrolled. Made a sale 5 months at 2,200. That's pounds. Okay, Melanie Fine. 10K in a single day. I can see over here. 10K in a single day. So this one skill, if you can master it and complement it with your teaching skills, you're onto something amazing. And so if you want to get some help with this, you can go ahead and check out my best-selling book, Teaching on Your Own Terms, where I walk through the deliverables of what you should be providing to students to get them amazing results that will help you build your sales offer out. I then walk through some of the marketing strategies, because one thing to, master the sales framework, but you need to be able to obviously have students to speak to. And I walk through some best advertising strategies inside of the book as well. So I'll leave a link down below this video, wherever you're watching it. Hit like, hit subscribe. Or if you want to go faster, check out some of the links down below, and maybe you're able to book in a call to speak with us. And we can actually help train you on this, like we're doing with some of our private clients. So you can go from classroom teacher or burnt out tutor to six-figure business owner. See you soon.